The True North Eager Beaver podcast is one of my favorite shows on YouTube. With hosts Doug and Paul, aka Eager Beaver and Mr. Grizzly, it has political commentary on the United States, Canada, and oh yeah, it is at times hilarious. It was my pleasure to interview them recently, and we're going to be featuring a few of those on upcoming shows. The first we're unveiling today. It is the fellas talking about the best politicians in their opinion of U.S. history as well as Canadian history, as well as modern day. If you like what you see, consider giving them a subscribe. The link's in the description.
I just
Yep.
really wanted to get the podcast done because I'd been trying for a year to get some space and it wasn't. And so I just asked them. So, I like your style. I like the way you comment. I like the way you talk about stuff. It's like, and you seem to have the equipment and you're able to do it. You do a jazz show. So you put shows together and it's like, you want in on it? He said, it took him 0.7 seconds. And he said, yes. And we've been a duo since. And it's been a dream collaboration. It's worked very well.
In your opinions, gentlemen, who was Canada's best politician ever?
My personal opinion, I lean heavily towards Lester B Pearson. Yeah, Lester B Pearson, he brought in a ton of great things during a minority government too. He brought in the Canada Pension Plan, employment insurance, mandatory vacation days. He has been my personal favorite, and I've always thought the most effective Prime Minister thus far, for what he got done in a very short time period. Oh, he gave us our flag, for crying out loud.
He's who I had.
Hey!
Well, but I had a B selection just in case.
Who's your B?
It's a duo, Robert Baldwin and Louis Hippolyte Lafontaine, who way back in the day basically established the principles of responsible government in Canada. Robert Baldwin actually recruited Louis Hippolyte Lafontaine to run in Toronto as a francophone, and I believe he became the first francophone to win a seat in Ontario.
Yes, and he won.
And he won,
which was kind of a shock because everybody was like, "How is this going to?" And it did. He beat the odds on that one. Nobody thought a francophone from Quebec would win in Toronto, and he did.
And their governments together established a public school system, finalized the founding of the University of Toronto, set up municipal governments. It pacified French Canadian nationalism because they saw that there was an avenue forward. It was a really big thing. So the willingness to want to, look over the language and the religion lines, and at that time, 1848, and move forward. They were ahead of their time.
I'm going to have to go with, I think, kind of a layup. Pierre Trudeau for creating social safety nets, essentially. Mm-hmm. Who is Canada's best politician in office?
I would lean towards Chrystia Freeland. See, we're on the same wavelength, right? I mean, you knew I was going to say that, right? You knew I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's whip smart. She has 4 degrees. She speaks 5 languages fluently. Putin is afraid of her. That's the truth. Literally, he is afraid of her.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah, if you want to go into that, Douglas, on why he's afraid of her.
Her mother participated in the writing of the Ukrainian Constitution.
That's a fact.
For one, I believe she used to be an editor at the Financial Times as well. She speaks Ukrainian and Russian, so if Putin's bullshitting, she can talk back to him in his language. She basically ran, when she was a teenager or something, I think she went to Ukraine to help run a resistance network.
Yes.
She's always she's a mother of kids right now, at the Governor General's hall when she was having her investiture as being an MP. She actually had her children there doing homework while they were waiting for the ceremony. She gets stuff done.
She probably is my actual pick, but for the sake of diversity in our responses here, I'm going to go with Jagmeet Singh or popularizing NDP.
Yeah, no, the thing is, we both like Jagmeet a lot, and when he behaves like a statesman, when he's on, he's on. But he's been playing sort of the con game, if you will, the conservative game lately, where he'll just turn around and blame Justin Trudeau for stuff that is not federal responsibility, they're provincial responsibility, so it would be at the state level.
And he comes from provincial politics, so he should know better.
He knows better. But it's why are you gaslighting, dude? You're supposed to be above that. So we get upset with him for that, and we call him out. But when he does his statesman-like things, he's solid, man.
On average, how often has he done this, and when did he start doing this more? Conservative type politics.
Less.
He's doing it a lot less lately, yeah, and especially in the last year.
Yeah, in the last election campaign, we were basically saying he was campaigning pretty much like a jilted lover.
Mhm.
Justin Trudeau says he's going to do all these things, but he never writes, he never calls, he never delivers. He'll stand you up. You can't trust him to do anything. It was like,
yeah, we don't care for that type of politics. It's like, if you're a political leader, you lead a political party, tell me what you're going to do. I know what that guy did. You don't need to point out what he didn't do or what his mistake. Tell me what you're going to do for us as Canadians.
Yeah,
I know what he did
for you. Yeah, because you're at the end of the day, you don't have a vote against somebody. You only have votes for somebody.
Correct.
And we're comparing everyone to each other, the alternatives, not the almighty.
Yeah,
100%. USA's best politician ever.
Ooh, that's I would say, okay, I don't know if I cared for him as a person. He had an abrasive personality, but I thought he was an effective leader, and he got a tremendous amount done by stepping into the position in 1963, Lyndon Johnson.
Interesting.
He got a lot done. Like, he got a ton done. And racial equality, he was pushing for a Medicare, like a healthcare universal program of some type. I can't remember all the details, but what I've read about the man, he might have been an abrasive
monster,
for want of a better term. He was an abrasive big dick Texan. and the stories about him, right? He used to buy pants of a specific way so when he stood up, it could swing in your face because he had a giant hog. Good on you, brother. I get it. But
speak softly and carry a big stick.
Yeah, well, yeah, he intimidated people by doing that. And he was, like I said, very abrasive, but he was a very effective politician. And he did a lot of good.
If he were to have accomplished all the things he nearly accomplished, I think he would win hands down.
Agreed.
On my show, I rant constantly about the Chenault affair, which the end I rant about is Richard Nixon's involvement, where he essentially sabotaged Vietnam peace talks, we think.
Yes.
But, oh my gosh, if Johnson would have been able to put a bow on that and that conflict, that alone, my word.
Exactly. And I mean, what the man did in a short time period, taking over a position after, an assassination.
Yeah.
Like... I would not say that the man was universally loved, right? And with Kennedy, you loved him or you hated him. Right. Obviously, somebody hated him because, but the people who loved Kennedy adored him. I don't think any of the people that loved and adored Kennedy felt the same way about Johnson.
No, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree.
But I mean, you have to, from a historical look back on things, it's like, he accomplished a hell of a lot.
The easy go-to is Washington himself, because they asked him to stay and he relinquished power, particularly in that era. So,
absolutely.
But without going for the obvious, I'm going to go for FDR.
My friend, we are on the same page. That's my pick too.
That'd be my second.
Yeah. Why FDR for you?
He was transformational, and particularly at a good time. I mean, one of the main mistakes of the First World War was, saddling Germany with absolutely everything. Yeah. Right. So, the whole New Deal thing and making sure that, we didn't repeat the same mistake. And then you got the highways and the start of the national park system, which probably paved the way for the EPA with Nixon. And, he did a lot.
And I'll tack on a little there just to fill it out and also put a bow on it. He did this with the New Deal, up to 1939. Basically fix the country just in time to tag in on the most important war that was not within our own borders that at least this country ever fought. Yeah, I got to say FDR, although similar to you, Mr. Grizzly, I don't think I would have liked hanging out with the guy from what I know.
No, he was not a nice guy.
No.
And a bit of a raging racist too, is the rumor. Yeah. He refused to shake Jackie Owen's hand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just like a cup. Like his personality would not clue you into what his politics ended up being.
No, not at all. Like, not at all. Well, you got to remember who wrote the New Deal. Who was the economist? Do you remember who wrote it?
No.
John Kenneth Galbraith, Canadian.
Son of a gun. I'm embarrassed. All right.
Yeah, that's okay. But I don't expect many people to know that. I learned it in high school in economics class. J.K. Galbraith. Brilliant economist, and he helped write the New Deal and come up with the basically modern America in many respects.
I feel like when I look back at I did do a look back at Canadian political history, and I do find like it's not a modern phenomenon that we're so intertwined. I would have thought there would have been more hard feelings in the 1800s, but no, we're constantly like, hey, Canada, please write the New Deal for us.
Yep. And every now and then we say we're out, right? The whole thing was like, no, you guys are on your own on that one.
I have
else when you're done.
U.S.'s best politician currently in office. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I'm currently in office. I'm going to go with Pete Buttigieg because
really, okay.
Well, he's young and he's relatively inexperienced, but he's a pretty smart fella. And every time I see him being interviewed, he is literally saying the right things. He is saying the right things.
He's a long game player too.
He really is. Fox keeps bringing him back, and he keeps embarrassing the hell out of them, and they keep bringing him back. And I'm like, is it because people love to hate watch him? I don't know what the case is, but he always gets his point across in such a polite and poignant manner.
I gotta concede. I fall way more in terms of my preferences, I fall way more on the progressive side, but I do have to say one thing that's lacking. It's the same thing to a slightly different degree that's lacking with the opposite end of the spectrum on the MAGA side. These are relatively new movements in the U.S. And they don't have the polish. And Mayor Pete, now Transportation Secretary Pete, there's something to be said for having a sharp knife, rather than a dull sword, I guess.
Of course, my close second would be AOC, which
also
is a little too progressive for a lot of people, but I like what she has to say. And I do get a kick out of the fact that a lot of people pick on her for having been a bartender previously.
Yeah.
I'm like, so let me see if I understand. The conservative faction is always pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Exactly.
Kind of think she did that, didn't she?
These are the same people who were like, I'm going to vote for Bush because I could have a beer with him. The person pouring the beer.
The person pouring the beer.
Yep.
Like, come on, right?
Right.
Eager Beaver, do you have a current favorite U.S. politician in office?
Favorite. Well,
I should say best.
Best. Okay. There's an embarrassment of riches. There's one person that's both the best and the worst. Mitch McConnell. He's an incredible politician. Uses it for horrible ends, right? So best and worst. If we're talking about pure politics, like this, he's really good at the game. Can't stand him. But since I like best and I like to think positive, I have a three-way tie with Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, and Jamie Raskin.
Interesting. Yeah.
Katie Porter. Love Katie
All
Porter.
three of them just don't, they have no time for it.
If I have to choose between Schiff and Porter, which if I were in California, I would soon, I would go Porter, but I got to give credit where it's due. Adam Schiff in the January 6th
He took a lot of
hearings,
abuse.
He took abuse and he turned around and knocked him out. I mean,
and Raskin doing first of all, he was good on the January 6th, but then doing the impeachment thing after what happened to his son.
Yeah. Good Lord.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I mean, the guy is made out of old shoe leather. I mean, he's tough as they come.
Yeah. Because but not only did he do it, he knocked it out of the park.
Truly.
He knocked the skin off that ball. I mean, there's nothing but laces. It's The Natural is what that was. Remember the last scene of The Natural?
Absolutely.
Right. And for Katie Porter, it's like, can I ask you a question, sir? I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. Because she has all the receipts and just, so how much money did you, really, that's this, like, pulls out her whiteboard, forget it. Go home, because you've lost.
Yeah, it was like that moment in the vice presidential debate at one point where you see Kamala Harris going, it's like, oh, dude, you are in trouble.
She is
saving
locked
and loaded. It's coming.
the saving grace of this era of politics is that I don't think the right wingers are at all prepared for actual competition. It's delightful
Agreed.
to see.
Agreed.